Welcome, my name is Sam Price, the Crypto Lifer, and today I'm going to give you a macro top-down analysis for Bitcoin, Total 3, which is all of the altcoins excluding Bitcoin and Ethereum, Bitcoin Dominance, Tether Dominance, the DXY, the S&P futures, the NASDAQ futures, and 3 exclusive charts you've never seen in the last few weeks to show you what's likely going to happen to the altcoins. So if you're ready for this, I'm ready for it. So here we are. Let's start with BTC. Major resistance is 60K. We flip 60K. We can get back up to that 64 region, then to 67.2, and then it's on. There's really 64 and 67 are the only real resistances once we break 60,000. So if you break above 60,000, it's like, man, you're going to have momentum. What we are looking for is, could this be the beginnings, the half beginnings of a shoulder, a head, and another right shoulder here that breaks us to the upside, and that could make a beautiful bull pennant or ascending triangle that would have this measured move of this length of this pole, and that would put us somewhere up here at about 122,000 by March of 2025, right? And that makes a lot of sense, and that you know, we could get there. It's going to take a lot of liquidity to get there. The bigger Bitcoin gets, the more money it needs to even move an inch. Remember that. So Germany is also 88% done selling, and that tells me that a lot of the sell pressure has been absorbed. We did a really good job. It could have been worse, but it wasn't that bad. Also, if this weekly candle closes like this, it's going to be what's called tweezer bottoms. It's likely a bottom for Bitcoin. Every time we had 2 weekly candles close together with wicks, like rare it was a bottom, right there it was a bottom, and even right there where these two hit was a bottom. You can see that's the lot. Those are the places where you had 2 wicks together, a red and a green candle. I know it's a very simple way to trade, but many times I have seen this become the reversal to the upside. So I like what I'm seeing here for Bitcoin. And if we can close the weekly candle like this, if we can get above 60K, fine. But if we can close it like this, great. And you can see if we bring this right up to weekly support or resistance, it's going to be about 61,004, 61,500. So that's going to be our big line in the sand. We break 61.5 and we have a chance to really start moving back to the upside. So that's kind of your macro idea for BTC. And then you could say we are forming this kind of trend line like so. And, you know, could we bounce back here and then, you know, establish that shoulder, that head, the shoulder, the head and the right shoulder there. And then the daily also has bullish div, which, you know, I like to buy blind. Like many times if I see bullish divergence on the daily, I'm all in, like it, because it's a very rare signal. Another thing that I want to show you, I didn't need to make that white line, but another thing I wanted to show you was, once we do this, is how low the RSI is. So if we kind of make the RSI a little low, and you look at it on the daily time frame, you've breached below the dotted line right there at the absolute bottom. You breached below the dotted line here when we had this kind of drop down around 25. And now you're here the last time you haven't been below the dotted line. And so it tells me that I have to start buying Bitcoin because the RSI is in a key point that it's only been in 2 other times since this entire rally began. I also like to couple this with the fear and greed index, and that's at a pretty good spot. If you take a look at it, it's sitting somewhere at about 25, and that's good. When you get this into the shady region, you definitely want to start buying BTC. And again, I'm not a financial advisor. Nothing I'm saying you should be taking as financial advice, but when I see this, I start purchasing Bitcoin in large quantities. I've been buying 10K, 2K. Heck, I got 1.3 Bitcoin now in the last few weeks. So really about I would say 6 weeks it took me to accumulate 1.3 BTC. And yeah, no lie, like I got it. I'll transfer it to the wallet. And I believe this is a great opportunity. However, I do see a resistance for Bitcoin, and I play support or resistance. And we have to flip this $58,000 level. We're having issues. Right now we're at 58,250. I'd really want to see a candle close at 58.5 and then breach back up to the next resistance. The daily has a resistance here. You can see it's 60,400. And it's really 60K is really going to help us get our push to 64, 67, and then to the all-time high. But I am more bullish than bearish at the present moment. Could we also be getting a shoulder, a head, and a right shoulder here? I'm presently in a long right now, and I'm actually up in the long from the live stream earlier today. But you do what makes you happy. These are the levels to watch for BTC. Remember, you get back above 60,005, you go to 61.5, and then it's back to 64 and 67. You lose this trend line and you start to drop. I mean, we're talking 52 and possibly $47,000. The worst case scenario right now is that we go down to 52, lose it, and drop to 47. But right now, there's a lot of buy pressure. The ETFs inflows have really started to pick up, and we're getting less sell-off when it comes to the German government. So we could start seeing a logical swing here based on liquidity. the total market cap in all of cryptocurrency doing something very similar because Bitcoin has high dominance right now, right? So this is what we're looking at. We're looking at this falling wedge, and we want to see this falling wedge break back above the 200 MA. It's really all you need to see. In the next 2 to 3 days, we want to see the 200 get breached. And then again, we could have what is the shoulder, the head, and the right shoulder for a move back to the upside. And there's a chance maybe we never go lower than the 200 MA again, and we stay above this point of control here on the VRVP. A point of control is where you have the most buying and selling of volume on a key number, right? So this tells you that at that level, you have a lot of buying and selling, all right? Now, when you look at the daily here on the total market cap, it just that's the what I'm going to focus on the most. We want to see a daily candle close above resistance because you can see bounce, bounce, bounce. So that's support or resistance right there at $2.13 trillion. If not, we could come down and double bottom. It won't be the worst, but you don't want to lose 192. You lose 192 and you could drop to 172 and then to the target of this falling wedge, which would take you to 1.58 to that bigger POC. When you bring in more liquidity, there's a big POC right down there at 1.6. There's also a gap in the VRVP. It's crucial that we get back above this here, make that right shoulder, and then get out of here to the upside. So we're looking for this to make an inverted head and shoulder. We're looking for this to make an inverted head and shoulder. And those are my projections right now, and we'll tweak them as we go, but that's what I'm seeing. That's my insight, my unique insight compared to the rest of the analysts you see online. And we're all unique and different, so this is going to be a unique analysis that you're not normally seeing. Let's take a look here at total 3 on the daily. Total 3 on the daily, very similar scenario, right? However, it's a little lower on the daily. It's not as close to the 200, but we want to see the shoulder, the head, the right shoulder. I made this as kind of like an ascending triangle, a flat top. We want to see that break to the upside. It's technically a 50-50 pattern. Anything could happen. I am going to kind of glance at this 4-hour. We really want to see the altcoins get back above the 4-hour. If the altcoins do that, boom, the whole market really will try to respond back. And honestly, we could get rid of that German sell pressure. The 4-hour looks like it's going to go. It's aggressive. We have resistance at $582 billion. Once we break 582, it's the 200 SMA and the point of control. If we can break the point of control in the 200, boom, baby, boom. And then we can really start to get the move on here. We can make that right side of the head, because shoulder, head, right side of the head, and then possibly, move on out of here. And I would love if we break 709. We break 709, that's our major resistance area that we were having trouble right now for the altcoins. Bitcoin dominance, it depends on what's going to happen. If Bitcoin dominance wants to spike up hard, it's going to tell us that Bitcoin's likely going to pump. If Bitcoin dominance wants to give up, then it tells us it might help altcoins, but it depends on what Tether Dominance is doing. Let me explain, and I do this every week, but you have money, okay? Money decides to flow. It flows into Tether, USDT, and it flows into Bitcoin, right? And Bitcoin. And this is Bitcoin dominance and Tether dominance. How much money is in Tether as opposed to how much money is in Bitcoin shows the dominance. You can chart these. What if Tether dominance was overbought on the daily, pointing down and about to tank, but Bitcoin dominance was oversold on the daily, curving up and about to pump? That would tell us that liquidity was going to leave Tether. Likely, the probability was very likely. So if you see high stochastics on the daily on Tether dominance and low stochastics on Bitcoin dominance, it's likely liquidity is going to leave Tether dominance, right, in Tether, and it's going to flow into Bitcoin. Now, when the market goes really bad, you'll see Bitcoin dominance overbought and Tether dominance overbought, and they'll both drop, meaning people will be selling out of Bitcoin. Or actually, hold up, cut this out. Now I want to talk about when the market dumps. When the market dumps, you're going to see Tether dominance low, and you're going to see Bitcoin dominance low. So if I delete all this, you're going to see Tether dominance low, like the stochastics, and Bitcoin dominance low, meaning they're both going to pump. People are going to rush out of altcoins. Some are going to choose to rush into Bitcoin. Some are going to choose to rush into Tether dominance. If you can see these both about to move, it's likely the market's going to take a dump. So by juxtaposing Tether dominance and Bitcoin dominance, I'm able to get a pretty good probability of if we're going to see a major dump or not. So I wanted to give you that backstory, and now we're kind of jump into Bitcoin dominance. So when we look here at Bitcoin dominance, we can see that it's making a symmetrical triangle, right? Pretty flat on this bottom side, getting tight on the top side. It's going to break up or down either way. These mainly break to the downside, these symmetrical triangles, but you never know. We are on a channel. We've been at the top to the bottom. We likely come back to the top of the channel. So you're looking to see if Tether dominance will breach this diagonal trend line or if it will fall and lose the 200 MA on the daily. If this moves back up, it's likely that Bitcoin is going to take another big move up and grab some more market share. If this falls down, then maybe we're going to see a bit of a move to the downside. Now let's move to Tether Dominance, and that's going to give us a little more insight as to what we're seeing. And we're going to look at Tether Dominance on that same time frame, and we want to extract the data and see what's happening. So remember, we were watching this closely, and we didn't want to see Tether Dominance break back above the 200 MA. Said that would be bearish for Bitcoin, and we got it, right? And then we pumped up, and you can see people did rush back into Bitcoin, and Bitcoin took a little bit of a fall. So I'm going to delete everything, and we're going to start fresh. We're going to look at this on the weekly and crunch down. It's been a while since I did a top-down analysis. So Tether Dominance, 8892. Our next big resistance is kind of right where we're just breaching. We seem to be getting above it and headed to our next resistance here. Getting above the 200 on the weekly isn't the best sign either. We'd like to see this struggle and lose this. We want to see this turn into some type of bear flag here and fall to the downside. If Tether Dominance decides it's going to rip past this 200 and then head up to 633, I just don't see how that's going to be good for Bitcoin. So we would like to see this turn and begin to drop. Our next 2 weeks, we'd like to see red candles, and we'd like to see 2 weeks from now a red candle below the 200 MA on the weekly here for Tether Dominance. So this is what we want to see. Right now, the weekly says we're going to drop on Tether Dominance. And let's see, and Bitcoin says we're going to pump on Tether Dominance. A little wiggle room in the next week or two, but in general, it says a month from now, Tether Dominance should be dropping, while Bitcoin Dominance should be pumping, and that means people are going to be, running into Bitcoin and leaving Tether. That would make 100% sense by the end of August into September, and that's what we're looking for. If you're in the trade that we put out earlier today, you are now in the money. Trade is pumping nice to 58,359. Okay, so that's Bitcoin Dominance and Tether Dominance. Let's move to the DXY. The DXY, when the DXY loses key levels of support, it's very good for Bitcoin. It shows that people are selling off the dollar. They don't want to be in the dollar. They want to be in BTC. We were watching this very closely on the daily time frame, and we saw how it was making a symmetrical triangle. We wanted to see the DXY lose the 200 SMA. It's a very big sign. If the DXY loses this 200 SMA, we are going to lose purchasing power. Housing will go up, right? That's why I just bought real estate, and you could think that's crazy, but I really believe getting into real estate now is better than it. Things are just going to keep going up if they continue to print money. You also have a beautiful double top here. That's an M pattern on the DXY, and I could see the M making a move to the downside. Let's look for the DXY to continue. It just lost the daily 200 SMA. If that closes like that, that's very bearish. I'd love to see that continue. It's a very bullish sign for Bitcoin. So right now we're getting a sell-off on the DXY while Bitcoin's getting a little bit of a pumpage here on Friday afternoon. Let's keep watching this, but we want to see the succession change. We want to see the DXY lose 104, head to 102, and then initially to that target at 101. S&P futures, if you remember, I gave you the daily. 3 weeks ago, I've been giving you guys these analysis for all the time now, but if you go back 3 weeks ago, when I do these analysis, because today is the 12th, so the last time I did it was the 5th, and then the time before that would have been, because we have 30 days, I guess it would have been like the 28th or something, June 28th, right? And then a month, whatever. If you go back and watch every single Friday macro analysis video, you'll see me on about whatever it was, June 18th or whatever the day was, because this must have been a Friday. And I projected this flag once we got here. And I said, wait for price action to come to the 21-day moving average. That's something that we know happens all the time, right? We want price action. We want this 21 to come into price action. We want to see the 21 touch. I knew once the 21 touched this white line, and I was light, and the stochastics were high. So I said, watch the Stokes reset. Watch us make a flag. When we get close or almost touching the 21, enter the trade. This would be the target, and then your stop loss would be lower to here, right? And so I came back the next week. We were here. I said, look, a week went by. We went into my flag. The 21's getting close. We're about to pump. And I said, boom. 21 came in. We got pretty close. We got the pump. You moved the stop loss to break even, and bang, you were in the money right now. Had you taken this call on the S&P, I walked you through it. We talked about it for days on end. It's pretty awesome. And yeah, there we have it. I mean, and you can see just 1 week, 2 week, and this will be the third one. So 1, 2, 3. It's been 2 weeks, but this will be the third Friday. So we nailed it. We called this S&P. We showed you how to move the stop loss to break even. Had you took this call, you'd be in the money right now on the S&P, just nailing it. There is a bit of bearish div now on the daily. The daily needs to reset a little bit, but to me, they're going to continue to print money. The fact that these moving averages are getting tight says we're going to set a plane here and then likely continue further to the upside. The daily is a little overbought. I would expect another flag like such to continue this legacy move here as they continue to print money because they have no choice. They are in a bad spot right now. They printed too much to not have to print too much. Now they have to print way too much. They will collapse the dollar. Mark my words. I will run for president on it. I will tell you, I've been telling you this for years. Let's take a look at the NASDAQ. Same thing on the NASDAQ. We drew this flag on the 1 hour, said it was going to make a little bit of a flag. And it's the same thing on the daily because the NASDAQ and the S&P are pretty much twins because they take the same money, liquidity from the world. But the NASDAQ was a little smaller, but the same thing happened. We flipped on the moving average. We told you to wait for the 21 to come into price action, draw a flag, and you get the pump. This one came down a little more drastically, and you have a little more of that, bearish div. But again, I would just kind of flag this out. Now, it may make a larger flag down, but it looks more because the 21's there. It's going to make more of a lateral flag. I say when I come here next week, you're just going to have 7-6 candles sideways, and we're going to be touching or breaking out. And they're going to continue to print this money to the upside. I'm more bullish on the NASDAQ and the S&P. Sol Bitcoin. Why? We want to see what Sol's doing against Bitcoin. Sol is the top mover, really, the number one gunner. And you want to see this flag continue to play out here. So hold on, I moved that wrong. Yeah, there we go. So we got ourselves a symmetrical triangle here for Sol BTC. Good sign. The second Sol Bitcoin breaks back above 2289, 890 Satoshis. That's probably going to be its bigger move back up to 35558. So I like what I'm seeing here for Sol BTC. Bit of a cup and handle, bounce, 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 showing signs of higher lows. I see this thing breaking out, eventually making a bigger move on Sol BTC. And if we look at it on the weekly is super low. It's telling you this is one of the best times to make a trade for Sol Bitcoin. So while everyone's stressing the markets, I'm looking at opportunities between coins. And I may even slide one whole Bitcoin into Solana here and see what that can do in the long term. So that's the plan. And I like Sol BTC for a macro trade on one of my BTCs. I would be able to double it up there at least, right? So that's something I'm looking at, this cup and handle on Sol BTC. I also want to look at ETH Bitcoin. Why? Well, ETH ETF is coming. I want to see if the charts convey any message that we're going to get a bounce. The daily did just breach the 200, and we are making a flag. It finally says that ETH BTC may be done getting beat up by Bitcoin. There may be enough attention while Bitcoin goes sideways here for the next few weeks as the ETF gets explored that we get this pump. Watch this flag on ETH BTC. Watch this double bottom. I love when price gets above a point of control and the 200 SMA. That's a coincidental movement that we could see some movement coming. So there it is right there. But when you can get that move, boom, we can get a nice move to the upside. So watch this flag on ETH Bitcoin. Last but not least, I want to talk about Kaspa Bitcoin. Kaspa's been gaining momentum. Kind of botched the KRC 20 drop. I get it. But once it gets up and running, things will probably start to move. This is very interesting to see. And Kaspa BTC, the last time it consolidated, got above the 200 boom. Here it's playing with the 200 here on the 1 hour. It just looks like there's going to be a likely move. If you go to the daily too, it's super oversold on the daily on the stochastics, looking like it may get a big pump to the upside. It's above the 200 SMA. Kaspa looks like it may beat up on Bitcoin in the next few weeks. These are three charts that you'd be looking at: Sol Bitcoin, ETH Bitcoin, and Kaspa Bitcoin. Everybody, that is your macro technical analysis. I hope you had a blast watching that with me. I hope you got a lot of education, and I hope it set you straight for the next week ahead. Please comment, like, and subscribe. Hit the bell for notifications. You can find out when I post my next video. No, I go live Monday through Friday, 10 a.m. to 12 p.m., and Saturday and Sunday nights at 8 p.m. I also do 2 exclusive morning updates on Saturday and Sunday as well. That's over 16 hours, basically, of live streaming a week, and we bring it to you every single day. I love you. I appreciate you, and please support the channel. Crypto is life.